At this point, having read the document, a lot of people are going to be pretty excited about altitude training. Tell us a bit more, Jeremy, about why the technology that you've been using over the last year is going to help you in training the horses more accurately.
Yeah, I think that when you're training at sea level, accurate data is very, very important. Not just from a treadmill point of view, but even in the field. And obviously, on a treadmill, we can control the work far more accurately with speed and elevation and so forth. But at altitude, all of these effects are multiplied. The horse is working a lot harder at lower oxygen, so we need to get accurate data, or you can cause some damage to the horse. And this data, I think, is paramount in altitude training moving forward, because without it, we just don't have an idea of what's happening in real time.
And when you say real time, how quickly can you respond to a change in a horse's heart rate or stride length?
Well, pretty much under this sort of technology, we can do it instantly. The data is unsmoothed. So most commercial products are smooth, so you're actually getting a delay or a lag in what you're actually seeing on a heart rate monitor. Not only that, individual changes in heart rate or things like that, whether there's a spike for whatever reason, whether it's real or not, is not recorded. Whereas we can see these spikes. If they become regular and part of a horse's regime, then we know that we've got a problem that we've spotted, and we can react instantly that we start seeing a heart rate elevate. Under normal circumstances, that heart rate may be a few seconds of rising before we see a problem, which in recovery mode and things like that, it can be important.
And you can see this from where? Do you have to be by the treadmill?
Yeah, you can see it by the treadmill, obviously on the treadmill display unit, but I can also see this in real time remotely from anywhere via a laptop or even from my iPad or phone for that matter.
And how relaxed would you be about owners seeing that data?
Yeah, I think that it would be great for owners to see it. I think provided that the owners understand what's happening, and I think it probably gives them a better insight as to what goes on with training a horse. I've always thought that we trainers assume too much, that owners perhaps know more about what's going on a daily basis with the horses than they indeed do. I think this would give unparalleled insight into what's going on in the progression through a preparation of any horse.
And Jeremy, how would you split the benefits to the cardiovascular system and the impact actually on the horse's structure and physiology?
Yeah, look, obviously under altitude conditions, the horse can work at a much lower speed in order to achieve the same response. So in other words, we can control that speed. A horse might require 40 kilometres an hour to achieve a certain response at sea level. On the treadmill, it may only be 20 to 25 kilometres an hour to achieve that same cardiovascular response. So it's obviously far less wear and tear on the body or the physical structures of the horse, which have got to be an advantage to prolong their racing career and enable them to race more often.
And there's been some big leaps in the past. There's been interval training come on in. We've seen the impact that training at altitude has in the human world. Do you think we're looking at the same sort of opportunity in the horse world?
Yeah, I think definitely there is no doubt that I think the horse training of race horses will benefit hugely from altitude training. It's clear that we're going to have to make some adjustments for horses. Horses don't require the same level of work perhaps that humans do, but it's certainly very exciting the fact that we haven't seen this sort of technology in the past readily available for horses. And indeed, it comes with some complications in the future in that you do need to have some experience with treadmills. You also need to get the correct data, as we've discussed. So, yeah, I definitely think that that this will become something far more popular in the future, as it perhaps at the moment it's still in its infant stages as far as affordability and so forth. But it's great to be able to pioneer such technology and be involved with developing something which I think will such as some trainers revolutionised training in the past in some ways. I think that this can potentially do the same and achieve the same results on the racetrack, and perhaps we'll be looking back on this in years to come and say, wow, it was a pivotal point in training racehorses.